Pete Buttigieg went through a list of every state where EV charging stations were either active or fully funded. Then Senator John Kennedy raised a finger and named one small town, a real community with real residents, that didn't appear on any map, plan, or rollout sheet. As Secretary Buttigieg tried to respond, Kennedy pulled out a document that caught the entire panel off guard. It wasn't a statistic or a clip. It was a sentence from a leaked Slack thread, and the room immediately grew still. Tap like, subscribe, and let us know which city or town you're watching from. The hearing room was well lit, flags properly placed, and the chair shifted slightly as Secretary Buttigieg leaned forward, already aware of the direction this session would take. His team had prepared him thoroughly. The rollout was in progress. EV stations were coming online across multiple regions. The administration was satisfied. The press had been briefed ahead of time. All that was left was for him to present it. He straightened his tie, smiled, and began. California, he noted, was ahead of schedule. Nevada had been aligned with the grid. Illinois was fully funded, though still under development. Florida was underway, with final permits expected by the quarter's close. This wasn't just a progress report. It was presented as a milestone, almost celebratory. Each point carried rhythm, as if carefully timed, with staff behind him taking notes while one typed updates to a regional communications office. The headline was practically set. This administration, Buttigieg stated, had turned clean transit from a policy goal into a practical reality. No interruptions came. Not yet. He continued. New York had 19 new charging hubs. Texas had 12. Washington was contracting locally. Oregon had already met its equity benchmarks. Arizona, once a concern, was now showing the highest per capita increase in EV adoption due to targeted grid incentives. A senator nodded while others glanced at their prepared remarks. Behind Buttigieg, a digital map lit up, displaying dots in blue and green across the U.S., each representing a site funded operational. His key line, "No American left behind in the electric future," had been rehearsed and landed as intended. The chair then recognized Senator Kennedy. Kennedy leaned forward. "Mr. Secretary," he said, "have you heard of a place called Tall Pines?" Buttigieg hesitated. "Tall Pines, Louisiana," Kennedy clarified. "Around 1,000 people, a high school, town square, not on your map." Buttigieg looked down as Kennedy produced a photo. "This is the high school's only parking lot, taken last week. No charger, no foundation, no permit, nothing." Buttigieg adjusted, offering that some areas face staggered rollout. Kennedy held up another page. "This is the state's grant response index. Tall Pines applied twice. They were marked non-priority due to infrastructure gaps." He paused. Buttigieg glanced toward an aide. Kennedy leaned back. "So, were those gaps supposed to be addressed before your program began, or because of it?" The secretary started to mention state coordination, but Kennedy interrupted. "Because right now, your national plan looks more like colors on a map than actual coverage." The room quieted. Buttigieg flipped through notes while the map behind him kept pulsing blue and green, but not over Tall Pines. In those first few minutes, the tone shifted. What began as a rollout update turned into a pointed review. Kennedy asked if Tall Pines had been considered in any federal allocations. An aide whispered to Buttigieg, who responded vaguely about state discretion. Kennedy leaned back in. "State discretion? These are federal grants. Your name is on them." There was no clear rebuttal. Kennedy continued. "This town applied twice. One application even included hand-drawn schematics from a local contractor. They weren't rejected," he said, holding up the paper. "They were ignored." Buttigieg clasped his hands on the table, binder set aside, digital pointer unused. Kennedy's printed documents now defined the room. Senators Blackburn and Padilla looked over. Staff from the Department of Transportation tapped their phones urgently. Kennedy raised another document. Kennedy held up a note from a parish council member. It stated the town had been told its grid didn't meet expectations. No explanation followed. Kennedy opened the letter, handwritten but clear enough for the committee cameras. He read aloud. "If the grid is too weak, then why is it strong enough to power a hospital?" The room paused. Secretary Buttigieg responded carefully. "Senator, I don't set local grid standards." Kennedy cut in. No one's asking you to control them, but your office uses those standards to approve or deny grants. Another shift moved through the chamber. Buttigieg started to reply but stopped. Kennedy leaned in slightly. "What I want to know," he said slowly, "is how a rollout this heavily staffed, marketed, and prepared overlooks 12,000 people who submitted the required form." Senator Cruz crossed his arms. Senator Lujan glanced at his notes. The chair adjusted posture. On the live stream, the viewer count began to climb. Tall Pines, once irrelevant to the discussion, was now at the center of it. Kennedy continued. He tapped the same digital chart Buttigieg had used earlier. "Your department says this map updates in real time, yes?" Buttigieg answered. "We're reporting delays from partners, but it reflects confirmed federal grants that I in that case," Kennedy said, pointing to the map again. "This town doesn't even appear as pending." Buttigieg looked closely. Kennedy added, "Which means it's not late. It was never scheduled at all." Silence followed. The implication was clear. If one town was excluded, there could be many others. Kennedy leaned back. He didn't raise his voice. He simply let the map, with its sea of glowing dots and one absence, carry the point. Tall Pines had become a question the secretary could not answer. Then Kennedy pulled out an email. No official letterhead, no seal, just a forwarded chain with red marks around names. Holding it at chest level, he said, "I don't believe this was meant for me." The chamber grew still. He began reading. It was from the Region 4 Planning Desk, time-stamped, discussing pending EV infrastructure applications. The email stated, "Tall Pines won't make the map. Too small. No press benefit." Buttigieg sat upright. Kennedy read on, "Recommend reallocating to a corridor zone that can visually scale." A cough came from the second row. Staff and producers stayed quiet. Mr. Secretary, Kennedy said firmly, "this isn't about state discretion. This shows your team weighing media impact as part of the grant decision." The chair asked for a response. Buttigieg replied evenly, "I've never seen that email. If authentic, it concerning." Kennedy nodded. "It's real. Came from someone inside your department who still believes ethics belong in transportation." That remark resonated. "So the choice is this," Kennedy added, "headlines or real service in towns that qualify. If you're still watching, let us know. Is your town funded or forgotten? Like and subscribe for more breakdowns that cover the fine print." Back in the chamber, Buttigieg shuffled papers but found nothing useful. Kennedy raised the email again. "This was forwarded 4 times. The last was 2 weeks before you last testified here. This isn't just an oversight. It's a paper trail." The secretary shifted. "Senator, I don't monitor every internal comment. If someone acted improperly," Kennedy cut in, "you're not responsible for stray remarks. You are responsible for systemic patterns." That landed. Senator Sinema took notes. Senator Booker leaned forward. Senator Leahy furrowed his brow. Kennedy went on. "It's one thing to say the grid isn't ready. It's another to say a town is too small to matter." Buttigieg didn't argue. Kennedy lowered the paper. "Do you know what the town square in Tall Pines has? 2 restaurants, 1 municipal building, a mural honoring World War II veterans. Do you know what it doesn't have?" He paused. "No answer came. Any reason," Kennedy said finally, "to appear on your department screen?" The implication was clear. Visibility had replaced responsibility. Federal support seemed to follow cameras, not citizens. Buttigieg tried again. "Senator, I will review this email and, if appropriate, initiate an internal review." Kennedy waved it off. "You do that. In the meantime, I'll let